So I'm curious, what is love for you? And what is that feeling?
For me, love is the foundation of life. Love is creation, love is source. Love is everything around us right now. Love is not ownable. The moment we try to own it, I think that is the moment where problems start. We are everything. If you take a spiritual journey, you realize that you are the source, you are everything, you are beyond emotions. We live in a society where only a part of you is accepted. That is what makes us. I want you to be the most authentic version of yourself. And that's why I make it relatable and say, make it ugly. The opposite of judgment is curiosity. So judgment is fear. Judgment labels, it kills. Whereas curiosity opens up. For me, what really works to raise my frequency is to also accept the emotions that I label as negative. I'm a human being, and as a human being, I have certain emotions.
Welcome to the Intelligent Change podcast. We're here in a gondola going up a mountain in Andermatt, Switzerland. I'm here with Luuk from Sanctum. Welcome.
Thank you. And let's just take a moment to look around where we are. It's so beautiful over here.
Yeah, it's so serene as we feel these mountains. Actually, Cameron, maybe you can do a little loop.
Yeah.
Just to give people perspective of where we're filming this.
And that is exactly the mountain where the movie James Bond was shot, the Goldfinger movie, where he drives in his car. That is exactly the mountain over there. Yeah. Wow.
That's amazing. Luuk, you're a good friend and you have changed my life for the better with your work. And you have been especially pivotal in moment of big change in my life as I was going through my separation, and we spent a lot of time together all over the world. I've been following, you, and we've been different places in the world, and I believe you're changing lives. So can you tell me how it all started for you to want to create the Sanctum movement and bring it to the world?
I was actually thinking last night, why do we resonate so well with each other? And before I'm gonna explain more about how I started Sanctum, I think one thing we have in common and what I very much appreciate about you is you are curious about life, you do the work, but you don't take yourself too serious. And there is a lot of joy and humor. And that is, I think, why we relate so much with each other. I try to do a lot of work. I take my work serious, but I don't take myself too serious.
Yeah.
And there's like a little joy in everything I do and a little curiosity, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's why I think we are great friends.
Yes.
So just wanted to share that with you. How Sanctum started, for me, it's really funny when I think about Sanctum and when I look back, it almost feels like I didn't create it. Because there was not one moment in my life where I was like, oh, I have an idea, this is Sanctum. It was, I feel like I'm in service of something that is bigger than me, and I surrender myself to that service. And it's not my ego that created Sanctum. It is something bigger. I'm in a bigger service, and I want to create impact in this world. I want to create experiences where we can come together, where we can be ourselves, where we can make a connection with ourselves and with others around us. Because I found that the biggest disease we have in this world is disconnection and loneliness. The World Health Organization described loneliness as a global health threat. And we need to action that right now. And I want to do that through Sanctum. So that is my service to this world. But then you might think, or maybe if you never joined Sanctum, yeah, but what the hell are you doing?
It's hard to describe because many times when people ask me, what is this? What are these headphones? What are you
Yeah,
doing? I just have to tell people you have to experience it.
exactly.
Once you experience it, you get it. But until then, it's hard to describe. I'm curious, how do you describe Sanctum?
For me, Sanctum is a roller coaster where we use every single part of yourself and methods and the immersion and environments to dive into a theme, to dive into a story. So in terms of the sequence itself, I am inspired by multiple practices that have been working for me in my life. I got in touch with dance. I used to be a professional dancer. I got in touch with more spiritual and energetic practices. Think about Kundalini yoga, think about energy work. I got in touch with the power of the mind. I was huge and I am hugely inspired by persons like Dr. Joe Dispenza, by the power of meditation, Vipassana, Buddhism. And I am inspired by experiences. I love to go to a huge festival where the lights are there and where the DJ plays his music. I love to go to Ibiza, to a club. And I thought, how about we bring all those practices together? We bring modern elements, such as electronic music, together with ancient practices. And why? I think many ancient practices are very profound. And there is a certain knowledge that we maybe are not in touch with anymore. But for many people in modern day society, those practices are too abstract. And many people in London, Amsterdam, and any other city said, well, I'm not going to go to Bali to meet a Buddhist monk. I'm not going to put a white turban on my head and do Kundalini yoga. But I still want those profound methods to be experienced. And that's why I created Sanctum, to wrap those ancient practices and insights into a modern age code and present it with a lot of humor, energy, and with that, let a big mass experience those profound insights that I found in those ancient practices.
And in terms of the movement itself, how do you design this whole experience of knowing how to take people on a journey and incorporating everything that you spoke about? Because it is a journey that people are on, and it's hard, and that's why it's hard to describe. It's movement. There's stillness.
Yeah.
There's all these elements that you weave together that make it Sanctum.
Yeah, so when I think about Sanctum, I don't think about a class. I see it as a movie. And a movie has certain ingredients, right? So if you go to think about the movie Titanic, you only cry at the end of the movie Titanic because first, Jack and Rose had a lot of fun. They had a lot of beautiful moments. They had love. They had sex. And only after all those emotions, you start to cry in the end of the movie. So I'm hugely inspired by movies and actually the arch of an experience of a movie or a theater or an opera. And those ingredients I put into the Sanctum experience. So it's a roller coaster of emotions. And you only touch the heart if you first had a lot of energy, if you first had a lot of joy, if you first had an intention setting. So I use all those elements to actually open up your heart in the Sanctum experience. And we do that through movement as well, right? So we bring the energy fully up. We exhaust you, which is actually the philosophy of yoga. If you look at the main philosophy of the movements of yoga, it is to prepare yourself for savasana, for the meditation in the end. So we tire our body to open ourselves up. And we at Sanctum work with our three bodies. So we have the physical body, it's the movements. It's the emotional body, which is also somatic movements and the emotions you feel. And it's the energetic body. So it's literally the frequency of your body and the frequency of your mind. And all those moves are based on those three bodies.
Can you tell us more about these three bodies and movements, and how did you come to understand the importance of incorporating those?
Yeah, so I start to, the more I investigated multiple methods, I went to see a Qigong master, I went to do Kundalini yoga retreats, but even primal movement, the more I understand that every single movement practice is based on the same principle. It's about shifting energy. They all are about shifting energy. And in yoga, you speak about prana. In qigong, you speak about qi and life force. But in the end, they all speak about energy. And then I realized when I was creating the Sanctum concept, hey, we have our three bodies actually. So the physical body is the body you see, right? It's the most easy to understand. If you break your arm or if you sprain your ankle, we can all see it. So that's a very simple one to accept and to understand. The second one is the emotional body, right? So it's the emotions you feel, but it can also be the trauma that is stored within your body. And we are realizing more and more that emotions are stored in our body. We learned that through practices like yoga. They also understood that already, but also through somatic practices, where 50 years ago, the only way to express your emotions was through speech, right? So if you had a big problem, if you had a traumatic situation, you would go to a therapist and you would speak about it. But now we realize that actually speaking is just one way to express your emotions. We can also express our emotions through movement. We can also express our emotions through expression of ourselves. And we see that those somatic practices start to become very, very popular. So to use your physical body as an expression for your emotional body. And then the third body is the energetic body. And I am hugely inspired by thinking about the energetic body through Kundalini Yoga. So Kundalini Yoga is really one of the oldest forms of yoga, and they really focus on the energetic body. As Dr. Joe Dispenza describes, everything is energy. It's even the philosophy of Albert Einstein, right? And through certain practices, through your mindset, through movement, you can change the frequencies within your own body, right? Through the power of repetition, the power of your breath, the power of intention settings. And I see everybody as a sort of a radio station, right? So you receive energy and you send out energy, even at this moment. Do you remember those moments where somebody walks into a room and that person lights up the room? For me, that is the energetic body. That is the frequency that somebody gives. And you cannot explain it. It's a combination of frequencies, hormones. There are so many things going on beyond what we see, right? Because the physical body is in the frequency of our eyes, right? We can see it. But beyond what we can see, there are so many other frequencies around us. Think about Wi-Fi. We cannot see Wi-Fi, but it's still there. And that the same is for our energetic body. We constantly receive and give information.
Luke,
Yes.
can you tell us more ways one can raise their frequency and live life at a higher level?
There are so many ways. So I think the ways that I'm gonna describe is only like a little fragment of things you can do. And I think the most important thing you have to find out for yourself is what works for me. Because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. Think about meditation. There are 1,000 meditation techniques. They're all great. It's not that one is better than the other one. You just have to find out what works for you. What works for me is to move. Movement is everything. Another thing that works for me to raise my frequency is to not spiritual bypass myself. And that is what I see happening in a well-being world a lot, right? I see certain methods or certain experts only focusing on the positive, right? And I love the positive, right? I love to be grateful. But for me, what really works to raise my frequency is to also accept the emotions that I label as negative. I'm a human being. And as a human being, I have certain emotions and I have a certain past, I have certain traumas, and I have to open myself up for that. So if I wake up with a very bad mood, which happens sometimes, you can ask God, and I can do two things, or I can fight against it and say, I'm gonna have a good day, it's all gonna be good, I'm gonna have a great day, let's just push forward and I'm gonna smile to everybody. That's not going to work for me. I'm going to be more frustrated and I am creating an extra battle within myself, an extra resistance. For me, it's about accepting that I have a bad mood and being curious, like, hey, I start to meditate, find stillness. Where do I feel that bad mood in my body? Ah, I feel it here. And not even creating a story around it, but just accepting that I feel bad. And by accepting it, I actually start to feel good. right? So for me,
Mm.
raising your frequencies can be through movement, but in general, if I think about the bigger concept, it's about accepting and surrendering to whatever is there.
Can you tell us more about this aspect of accepting and surrendering? One of the things that we spoke about is that you're learning right now also in life is to be able to accept and surrender. So how has your thinking evolved in regards to action and forcing things to happen
Yeah.
versus allowing or surrendering to life in the moment? What
Yeah.
is your relationship with that?
So, as you might know, I was a dancer, and as a dancer, I learned to fight, to be very competitive, to always wanting to be the best, right? And that got me quite far on that level in my life, but I reached a certain ceiling. During my youth, I ended up quite often in a survival mode
Mm.
because of certain situations in my life at home. So I needed to survive. With that, I created within myself a certain craving for a survival mode,
Mm.
right? So the moment things went bad, I actually became very happy. I was like, this is my safe space. Oh, yes, I'm used to being in a survival mode. In my 20s, I started to realize that pattern. I started to realize that I was actually addicted to the suffering. That was my safe space because I was used to those safe spaces, and I knew and I know that I can thrive in traumatic situations.
Mm.
So I had to rewire my brain. I had to learn that it's okay to be peaceful,
Mm.
to not always look for things that are not going well, because it's our ego, it's our survival mechanism that is looking for the danger, right? So for me personally, I had to start my journey to be able to accept peace. For me, that was mainly through meditation. Meditation really gives me awareness about my mind. And with meditation, I am able to step out of my mind, and I am able to have a look at my emotions and thoughts without being those emotions and thoughts. And if you can step away from it, if you can detach yourself, then you can actually, with an objective view, see, hey, what is actually happening in my mind? And why am I craving for this? Why am I running away from this? So to go back to your question, for me, surrendering is about being able to detach and to become curious about this very complex thing, which is called your mind.
Going back to the spiritual bypassing,
Yeah,
as you know, a lot of people believe, with my work and
yeah,
intelligent change and the 5 minute journal, that it's all about being positive.
yes.
So, can you tell us more about in the society or people getting these mixed messages through online and in your own experience, what has helped you to get in touch with the shadow side of
Mhm.
yourself and to accept that part and also use it as a way to be more whole as a
Yeah.
person?
So this is a big thing for me. I believe that we are everything, right? And if you take a spiritual journey, you realize that you are the source, you are everything, you are beyond emotions, right? You are beyond the stories that you tell yourself, and that is great. But at the same time, you are in this human body, and you have human emotions.
Mm.
And you have emotions that don't make sense. You have emotions that are not fair. You are jealous, you are angry, you snap. And I believe very much into accepting those emotions. And that is what I mean with spiritual bypassing. We can push those emotions away. We can
Mm.
say, hey, I'm more than those emotions. Some monks are, but most often the people that I meet and myself still have those human emotions. And I want to accept myself and surrender myself to those human emotions. And that is for me so important at Sanctum, that we are able to express the whole range of emotions and frequencies, and not only the positive ones. I think you need the emotions. I don't like to label it as positive or negative, but
Mm.
we need to express those emotions that we label as negative as well.
Mm.
Because otherwise, if we hide them, there is a certain part of ourselves we don't accept. And maybe there is some rage within yourself.
Mm.
Maybe there is something within you that doesn't feel fair. Maybe you just want to cry. And maybe there's a story for it, maybe not. But at Sanctum, I want us to be able to express everything and not only the things that we want to show to other people.
I love that. Having done so many Sanctum experiences in different settings, I can attest to that. Where in the experience, Sanctum experience, you can go through everything, through all the emotions, and this is the aspect that I love about the noise canceling headphones. Because oftentimes in classes, we'll get self-conscious, or another person is crying or screaming, you'll kind of get into their world. But the headphones really allow this cocoon, and to allow, let's say, even myself to get angry and to scream, or to stick my tongue out, as you asked us to do yesterday, or whatever things that you may be expressing. And I think oftentimes, even as I'm even speaking about this, people watching or listening to this can get uncomfortable. Be like, oh, that's so weird to express these type of emotions in front of maybe strangers or people you don't know. And I feel that, going to what I was sharing with you before about many people right now in society, as you said, this in this epidemic of loneliness, is really about people being disconnected also from themselves.
Yeah.
And if you're not expressing yourself fully, even to yourself, and you don't feel comfortable about expressing yourself with others, whether it be they're strangers or somebody else, then you're not able to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels foreign. And society, from the moment that we're in school, has, conformed us into, okay, behave, don't cry, don't get angry, be this way. And we're these kind of robots living in this human full spectrum experience. And what makes being human so beautiful is this range of emotions. And as even me, myself, as I'm evolving and maturing, I'm also like, you sharing this is so important, because there was many parts of me where I didn't accept my anger. I didn't accept my emotions, especially as a man. I'm not supposed to cry. Boys don't cry. So like, don't show that. And then, however, as you said, and you guided us before through these three different types of bodies beyond the physical, that emotional and energetic bodies. A great book title and book is, Body Keeps the Score.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to cheat the system.
No.
That repression will be in the body. So this is where I'm going to, is really the somatic experience of Sanctum, because I've seen a lot of people, including myself, go through these somatic releases where, we've done experiences where, you make the room dark, and everyone's tapping on the floor, and the way you incorporate the music to the beat to really like get people to release.
Yeah.
So tell us more about when you incorporate, and because it's truly a gift of yours to be able to take people on this journey and have them be able to express these things, not in a verbal way, right? This is not therapy, but it is in a different sense of like movement and body therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more about somatic. How do you incorporate that? And because I've seen people actually go through this transformation, but what's behind it? Why do you think it's important to incorporate those things for people? And what are some ways that people can, without even going to a Sanctum experience, how can people release these things in their lives?
Great question. Let me first come back to one thing you were saying, because that is so true for me. We live in a society where only a part of you is accepted, right? You, as a man, you were saying, hey, I am supposed to react like this, and I'm not supposed to feel like this. That is what makes us fucked up. Because we are not allowed to be the full spectrum that we are. And that is one thing that really hurts me. Like, why are we doing that to ourselves? Why do we force ourselves to only post the beautiful holiday photos? If we are in a social setting, are only allowed to have fun. Maybe you are in a social setting and you want to cry, or things are not the way you want them to be. And there is this big force of, I have to be this way. I have to put on this mask. And that is, I think, what creates a lot of tension and disease internally. But you were speaking about the somatic part of Sanctum and of what I do. To be honest with you, it came And so many things come very intuitive.
Mm.
So most of the things that became very somatic at Sanctum happened in a moment. Many things at Sanctum and elements of Sanctum first came from a very intuitive level. And then I started to investigate and I started to research, and I found actually culturally what that means, or through research or science. What I have been researching is the power of ritual and the power of collective experiences. When we go to a party, often, in a club, it's nice music, and maybe you are flirting with a guy or a girl and you're having fun. But if you look at many other cultures and tribes, shamanic tribes or African tribes, movement and music is deeply spiritual, is deeply somatic. There is an urgency behind and there is a feeling behind, and they do that as a collective in order to raise their frequency, in order to honor life or gods, or in order to elevate their consciousness. And that is what I'm realizing more and more with Sanctum. There is something magical in collective experiences. And I'm hugely fascinated by, why do we go to church masses? Why do we go to football games? Why do we go to pop concerts? There is something within us that needs to belong, that needs to have a shared experience. And I try to make it relatable for everybody. So maybe if you like football, there's this moment when there's a goal happening and you all start to scream with each other. There is magic in that moment. And that magic in the moment I want to incorporate in Sanctum, but through movement. And what if we allow our emotions as well in that? What if we add the music in there as well? And what if we just scream at the same time? There is something beyond stories, and it's energy that starts to speak. Like indeed, the body keeps the score. Energy doesn't lie. So if you bring that energy together, and after a Sanctum experience of 40 minutes where you tire your body, there's a reason for that, to open yourself up. If you go into the exhaustion, there's a reason for that. You go beyond your stories. Then you end up in this very raw energy, and you end up just screaming and releasing yourself without even making sense out of it, because you are beyond that stage. Then something very primal and cathartic is happening. And that is what I see what happens at Sanctum. There is like an energy, like an expression that goes beyond beauty. And it's so ugly that it actually becomes beautiful in that way. And that is for me really the essence of what I do and the essence of Sanctum.
So in regards to the collective being an important part of the somatic, at the same time, people are having these individual experiences and everyone's able to get for themselves what they feel. So how does one get in touch and be able to have these potentially somatic releases individually? Is there a way of practices that you yourself maybe even practice, or one who are watching or listening to this can incorporate in their life to help them have this kind of release? Or what are some recommendations that you have for people?
That's a great question. And then I always tie it back to those three bodies, right? So what can I do through my physical body? What can I do through my emotional body? And what can I do through my energetic body? For me, if I want to get in touch with myself, for me, Kundalini exercises are the best. One of the main principles of Kundalini exercises, or there are many, is repetition, is breath, and it's discomfort. For me personally, it works really well to get in touch with myself by reaching, and it sounds weird, a certain level of discomfort. For me, discomfort helps me to get out of my monkey mind. And that's why, for instance, an exercise where you bring your hands forward and you bring one palm up and one palm down, and you just start to squeeze your hands. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And you stay in those squeezes for around 5 minutes, and you keep the speed. And you just become aware what is happening in my emotional body. Right after 3 minutes, you start to think like, shit, this is really tough. Maybe I shouldn't do it today. I'm a little bit tired today. Maybe I look a little bit ugly here in front of the camera. Let's just maybe stop. It's just constant thoughts. And then you look at your physical body. First, I feel some heat. I start to feel exhaustion. And after the exhaustion, I start to feel more energy. And then you go into the energetic body. So you think, hey, the energy builds up, and after 5 minutes, you bring your hands to your heart, you close your eyes, and you suddenly feel the constant stream of energy through your body. Because I went through discomfort, I shook up my mind, I forced myself to get out of my daily patterns. I did something new, I found some exhaustion, and suddenly I feel a little bit more light within myself. This is a very simple exercise to get in touch with yourself. For me, through movement, but a movement is not only physical movement, it is physical, emotional, and energetic.
And are these practices you're going to incorporate? I'm also an investor in Sanctum, which I'm really proud to support, and I love what you guys are doing. And with the digital experience, is that something that you will incorporate for people to be able to do these exercises at home that you will guide people through?
Definitely. So we are now in a very exciting phase where we are piloting our digital platform. And for me, the digital platform is really about how can you, in a bite-sized model, find a connection with yourself and a connection with nature. I cannot say too much about that, but we want to take people outside in nature through our digital platform and off their screen. So that is something that I am investigating. And I think if I think about Sanctum and the role we play in the market, I think we are always a little bit the rebel. Somebody from the fashion industry said, you guys at Sanctum are like the Balenciaga of the well-being world, right? So doing things always in a different way. Not just because we want to be a rebel, but we want to find different ways to incorporate those profound insights. And that is what we are doing with the digital platform as well. So we are seeing it as an art piece, and we think, how can we make it the most immersive and approachable way to get in touch with yourself with a lot of joy and energy as well.
And one of those different perspectives that you have, and you mentioned it a little bit in this conversation, is about ugly and making things ugly.
Yeah.
So where does this come from?
Yeah.
And why do you think it's important to embrace ugliness and not just beauty and perfection?
Yeah. Well, this goes back to what we were speaking about earlier. We live in a world dominated by perfection, and it's making us very, very sick. There are unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and we always strive for something that we are not. I did my first Vipassana last year. We were speaking about it this morning over breakfast, and one of the core philosophies of Vipassana yoga is to get out the constant stream of cravings and aversions, right? So if you look at your thoughts, most of your thoughts are based on cravings and aversions. I'm craving for this, I want to have this job, I want to feel like this, I want to have this type of girlfriend, I want to look like this, and aversions. I don't want to get older, I don't like that person, I don't want to wake up. And often we end up in a constant cycle of cravings and aversions. Why does this tie to the ugly part of yourself and being ugly? I think the constant expectation of being successful, of being beautiful, ties to this cravings and aversions. And why can we maybe for that one moment a week at Sanctum or at any other place you go to, just be ourselves? And that can be your ugly self, it can be your beautiful self, but we often want to make everything beautiful and everything good, and we want to work hard for everything. How about you work less hard and you just open yourself up for what is there? And maybe the most powerful version comes up, and maybe the most lazy or dramatic version of you pops up. I just don't want Sanctum to be the place where you become the best version of yourself, because it's another competition, it's another goal. I want you to be the most authentic version of yourself. And that's why I make it relatable and say, make it ugly, because that actually triggers people a little bit to think, hey, make it ugly. What is that for me? Hey, maybe it's about doing less. Maybe it's about releasing some tension. So that's why I use a very easy word, make it ugly.
That's beautiful. And taking it back to what you were saying before about, Sanctum is something that came to you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you said that right away. It made me think about when, we've created the 5-minute journal. And I do feel it was, I'm more of a channel to bring it to the world versus like, this is my idea. And we are all chosen as vessels to be able to carry and or as portals to bring stuff from the ether into here. You know, one of my favorite books of all time is also, I believe it's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful book, and she speaks about this. So in a way, you were probably, you know, chosen as this person to bring this concept. So tell me more about
Yeah.
being able to be the channel.
Yeah.
As you said, as an artist, as a creator, how do we tap into that frequency of being able to receive the gifts from the universe to then be able to be the channels to bring
Yeah.
it and be of service,
Yeah.
as you said, to humanity, and allowing yourself to be that vehicle?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would love to hear your answer after this as well, because we are creating a movement, but also a brand
Mm-hmm.
in this world, which is about being in service. For me, the most important thing is indeed to be in service, to do something that is bigger than me. And for me, it really feels, and it sounds so weird, that Sanctum is not my idea. Came through so many ideas in the night or through a meditation or whatever. And now I look back at the last 5 years and I was like, has this been me? I really have the feeling that I did not create this. And I did not. It is something bigger than me.
Mm.
And that is for me a constant tuning in with myself every single day, every choice I make together with Gab, the co-founder and my partner in life and crime. Am I making this choice out of my ego, or am I making this choice out of something bigger? And I really believe if you have an idea that serves the world in any way, can also be through being a mom,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be a company
Mm-hmm.
or anything big, then the success will come by itself. If I make a choice that is purely based on myself and my ego, I'm not saying an ego is a bad thing, then I am not doing it from the right place for me. So I'm constantly asking myself, what is the bigger purpose of this? And then I realize when I make those choices, success happens by itself. And it is incredible to look back at the last 5 years, and we are still in the beginning of our journey, I feel. How many things happened at the right moment, where we had a lunch somewhere on an island, and suddenly we met a person that happened to be there at the same time. And that person said hi to us, and that person introduced us to another person, and that opened up a whole new pillar at Sanctum. If I look back at the biggest things that happened in Sanctum, you cannot even imagine how it felt like it was luck in a way. But I think you can only attract those things if you have the right intention and if you have the right mindset and if you are in service to the world. Do you have that too? If you look back at intelligent change, was it a lot of pushing from your side? Or did you also meet the right persons at the right moment? Or did some, if you want to call it luck, happen in your way if you look back to your journey?
Yeah, I resonate with what you're saying in every way. And as you said, I love serendipity, and I love putting myself in the position of serendipity and luck. And in order to do that, you have to be curious and open and see, hey, what's going to happen next? The origin of intelligent change, because people often times ask, you know, how did you create the 5-minute journal? And the way it was created was somebody actually heard of me, that I've created this lifestyle business where I'm able to travel the world and not work much and just
4 hours a week?
yeah, 4 hours a week. You know, from Tim Ferriss was the
I
inspiration.
don't know how he does that.
Yeah, and so and then, you know, I was surfing in Costa Rica or enjoying myself in south of France, and uh, then he wanted to create a lifestyle business. So he was an instigator. It's like, hey, help me, right? And then, as you said, I had to be, do I choose to be of service to even this individual, just to him personally? Or do I say, no, I don't have time for you, right? But I felt compelled. It was an introduction, and it made it happen. And he said, teach me how to make money and have this lifestyle like you have. And I told him right away, Because at that point I realized fairly early that, making millions of dollars and having this lifestyle that we're all sold to, I was sold to, and I was led to believe that once I do this, then I'll be happy, and then that's when I can celebrate, and that's when I'll make it. And here I was, I've manifested my dream, I'm living my dream life, and I'm not that happy. And instead of pretending to him that, hey, yeah, here, follow the steps and be like me, and then this is gonna be so great, I said, actually, no, don't. What you think the 4-hour work week is, or this lifestyle, it's actually, um, for me, what I've learned is it's not aligned. And what you should be asking instead to yourself is, how do you create something that is aligned to your soul, your mission, what you feel, what you want to create and experience and be part of in this world?
Yeah.
And how do you, let's reverse engineer yourself to get to a place where you're starting to go on a path, because creating any business or life, it's a journey. And if you want to go on this journey, you have to have a strong why. You have to have a strong reason of why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because like any journey, we're here surrounded by these mountains and beautiful hikes. There's going to be times that are tough when you're climbing, when you're like, I just want to give up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a strong why and reason to keep going, you're like, I'm just going to turn around and go back where it's safe and comfortable and easy. And I believe most people, they have the wrong why. It's not actually aligned and true to themselves. And the people who succeed are the ones who have a very strong calling and a bigger mission of service to go beyond yourself, to keep going.
Yeah.
Another great book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, the ones who survived, they had something bigger to live for outside of that camp. Or maybe even if they didn't, they would create something. And this is why I really believe in the human need for purpose, for meaning. How do you cultivate that and create that in yourself? And so then the 5-minute journal was started with that. And with a simple intention of, we want to create the simplest, most effective thing that you can do every day to be happier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So having a clear intention and having a strong why allows you to then create something meaningful. And I believe that's something that you're doing now. And even yesterday's experience, you really reminded of me. Again, it's not about myself. What I'm doing now with Intelligent Change is when I tap into, I already have more than enough, to live a good life. And what will inspire me to keep going is, how can I serve more people? How can I help more people realize the beauty of life and existence? And as you asked me, even, what's the purpose of this podcast? Why are you doing it? Why are you filming it? Again, it's a service of people, to allow them to be part of this conversation that maybe me and you could have just walked up here, had a beautiful hike, and we would just have kept this conversation just between us.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, that would have been good enough, and maybe, hey, the butterfly effect will create some sort of ripple in the world. However, I believe by helping people take on this journey together and sharing your insights, what allowed you to get here, going from, a dancer and now creating your own experience and movement that you're sharing with the world, that you are being vulnerable with in each of your class, and also allowing other Sanctum guides to be part of it and also to be the leads in this experience, is beautiful. And that's how we create that ripple and change, because I've experienced your magic myself, meaning many times, including yesterday and many other classes, and we will tomorrow, and another beautiful experience of where we as people need these reminders of, you're worthy, and that you're beautiful and ugly, whatever that is, but you're accepted.
Yeah.
And that
you belong.
You belong here. And the reason that you're here on this planet, there's a reason. And for you to tap into that and be, as you said, and that's something I'll actually love to lead into next, is to allow your curiosity guide you versus judgment. So can you tell us more? That's one of the themes that you often integrate, is really allow curiosity guides you versus judgment. So tell
Yeah.
us more about judgment versus curiosity.
Yeah, so, oh my God, what a beautiful story, Alex. I can listen to you for hours. If I think about curiosity versus judgment, I think about a bigger thing beyond. That is the battle. No, I wouldn't like to call it a battle. Difference between love and fear.
Mm-hmm.
If I spend a lot of time thinking, you can ask everybody around me. I'm a big thinker. When I was a little kid, I always asked my dad, "But Dad, why? Why? Why is water see-through? Why are you not able to see air?" I'm always thinking about like those things. And I'm curious about the mind. And if I think about the mind, I realize that you can categorize two types of thoughts: thoughts of love and thoughts of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So thoughts of love is thoughts that want to find connection, abundance. Thoughts of fear is protecting yourself. The worst outcome is worries, etc., etc., etc. And it's an interesting exercise for yourself. Like every thought you have, think think about it. Is this a thought of love or is this a thought of fear? And then also, by the end of the day, think, hey, how full is my bucket of love today? And how full is my bucket of fear? Am I happy with that ratio or not? Maybe you're happy with it, maybe not. Maybe you want to change some things. And the same thing happens for curiosity. I once heard a beautiful quote: the opposite of curiosity is judgment. Or the other way around, the opposite of judgment is curiosity. So judgment is fear. Judgment, labels, right? Judgment literally means I label this as this and this is not me. Yeah, it can be a judgment about yourself. It can be a judgment about another person. It can be a judgment about your past, but it closes off, it kills. Whereas curiosity opens up. It's a question, like, hey, I'm actually quite interested in this. So whatever there is, we have two choices. An emotion I feel, I can judge it. I can say, oh yeah, this is because of my past and blah, 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 and I kill it. Or I'm curious, hey, where do I feel it in my body? Why do I feel it at this moment? Is it because I was triggered by something or anything else? And the same goes for first timers at Sanctum. They can think, who is this weird Dutch guy in front of me that screams at me and does weird moves? Judgment, right? I give it a place, I kill it. I distant myself from it by judging it. Or I can be curious. Why am I actually judgmental about this? Hey, I'm actually doing things that don't feel, that feel weird. I actually feel emotions that I was not supposed to feel today. But then you get curious, and I am a huge fan of being curious. And all the people I look up to are curious in life. Oprah Winfrey, Jane Fonda, many spiritual teachers, they are curious. They look at the world and they're like, what a magical place. I wonder what it actually is like, rather than judging it. This is a mountain, this is water, I know it already. No, there is so much magic around you, and I want to be curious for my whole life.
I love that. And what it makes me think about is how we sometimes in relationships become more judgmental versus curious about our partners. And how we sometimes think, even if we've been with a partner for 10 plus years or something like that, that we know them. And what I've learned in being in relationships is that it's a never-ending journey of seeing another human evolve and constantly being curious instead of judgmental of your partner or your family member or a friend give you such a beautiful perspective. So that's why I want to kind of bring it up to people in the context of also not just your personal judgment or curiosity about yourself, but also how do we bring that curiosity towards other people in our lives, and that lifelong curiosity and learning about our partners and appreciation of this being that is choosing to go on this journey with us can actually lead to fulfillment and deeper connection. Because the moment you feel judgment or you feel judged is the moment that you go into fear and you want to kind of like, you don't feel accepted and you want to go away. What embarrasses you most in front of other people?
It's not vulnerability. I don't mind being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think it has to be related. I cannot find one particular moment, but the first thing I think about is shame.
Mm.
Because I'm gay,
Mm-hmm.
there is a bigger relationship and problems around shame, I think, within myself, which I'm quite proud of my work around that. But if you were gay, it's quite an interesting thing, right? Because there's a moment in your life where you have to tell the world that you're gay.
Mm-hmm.
And you hope that the world will accept it. But there is this moment where you actually are waiting for acceptance or not. And sadly, for many people in this world, they won't find that acceptance from their surroundings. But I think by having to make that journey and by having to open yourself up and hope for approval, there is a bigger shame within me. And sometimes I feel ashamed, but especially as a teenager, I felt hugely ashamed of many things, like stupid things. And I sometimes get back into that. So sometimes somebody asks me a weird question that takes me out of balance and I start to blush. And I go back to that feeling that I had often as a teenager, right? Where you totally feel ashamed and out of it. And it makes me realize that shame is really one of the worst things to feel. So I think shame is something that I really don't want to show to other people in a way.
Thank you for being vulnerable and
Mm.
sharing that. And I want to actually, on that, shift to the power of love.
Yeah.
Because even speaking about whether you're straight or gay, the guiding force in life, I believe, is love.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being loved and accepted. So I'm curious, what is love for you? And what is that feeling on a more personal level? Um, and also on a grander level of life. How does love guide you?
For me, the perception of love is forever changing. So probably in 10 years, I will speak about it in a different way than I do now. I hope so. It means I changed. At this moment, love is everything for me. So for me, love is not a romantic thing. For me, love is the foundation of life. Love is creation. Love is source. For me, love is everything around us right now.
Mhm.
Everything fits together. We are floating around in space through a black hole, and suddenly, somehow, we are on this round planet. We are sticking to this planet right now through something which is called gravity. We are breathing oxygen. There are birds flying around us. There is water floating down the river, which we drink and wash ourselves with. There are flowers growing. There are cows around us. We drink the milk of the cows. Everything works in a magical way together. Nature itself, for me, is love. How that all works together with a constant flow of giving and receiving, of giving birth and dying. For me, that is love. And the moment we start to go against that, we create dis-ease. The moment we try to force things our way, the moment we try to own this mountain or this piece of land or this country or this religion, we go against love. So for me, love is everything, but love is not ownable.
Mm.
And the moment we try to own it, I think that is the moment where problems start.
Yeah. And how do you see ownership of love? Because it can also happen in relationships, right?
Yeah.
When we try to cling on to
Yeah.
love or feel like, because it is love is everything, and so many of us want to experience it and crave it and desire it, and if we're lucky enough to find it,
Yeah.
we want to own it.
It is so hard. Yeah. I can now easily say, oh, I am the expert in love. I'm not. Ask Gab. I'm so imperfect. But one thing I start to realize about love is I have a tattoo here. I can show it to you.
Yeah.
It is the law of impermanence. I put it in very sexy motel letters on my arm. And every time I struggle with love, it is around this. It is because I want Gab to be a certain way.
Mhm.
I want my partner to be fully mine. But I go against the law of impermanence, and the law of impermanence is a law of nature.
Mm.
We cannot go against it. I will die, you will die, and change is the only constant that we have. So people will always change, you will always change, and life will always change. So the moment I have struggles in love is because I want to attach. I want that person to be mine. I want that person to behave in a certain way. And this is probably going to be a journey for my life to accept and surrender the law of impermanence.
And for yourself, when you find yourself clinging or attaching, how do you remind yourself of, is this the reason why you have the tattoo, but outside of the tattoo, how else do you remind yourself in love, with your partner, uh, to let love lead the way?
I remind myself through gratitude, to be grateful for what I have,
Mm,
and that I don't need to change anything about myself, and that I cannot expect somebody else to change for me.
mm,
And
mm,
to be grateful for what is right now. And what I have today is so beautiful. What I have tomorrow, I have no idea what I will have tomorrow. I hope that I will be with God for a long time, but it's not my decision.
mm.
So I'm really grateful for what I have today.
And on that topic of gratitude, as you know, a very intelligent change, a big, powerful question. What are you grateful for today, in this moment?
I'm grateful for life.
Mm,
I try to ask myself the question a lot, and you like those questions, I think.
mm.
What if I die today? It can happen. Maybe I fall off this cliff, knock on wood, this is rock. But I like to ask myself that question. What if I die today? Am I happy with my life? And if I would die today, I will be so much in peace. I was
Mm,
like, wow, I had an amazing life. I made a few fucked up mistakes, but I took a leap of faith. I took the jump and I did things and I felt amazing and I felt lost and I did it all. And I am grateful for that. So, yes, I'm grateful for life, how life shaped me and the direction that life is taking me.
I love that. On that note, I would like to end this podcast. Impermanence, all good things must end sometimes. And I'm sure I want to continue this conversation with you in the future, where we can go deeper and maybe bring another guest to go with us on this conversation. I love having conversations with you and spending time together. Definitely, I'm so grateful that also our paths have crossed in Ibiza, that we've been friends and exploring the world, having adventures, and also being of service to so many people around the world. And I believe this is just the beginning
Mm-hmm.
for you, for Sanctum, for everything that we're creating. I'm very grateful to share this your message and your thoughts to the world. And I want to also leave off with my gratitude for you, Luke,
Mm.
for you allowing yourself to share your light with others, and your dark, and your ugliness, and your everything. I'm very grateful that you're being so raw, because through your vulnerability and expression of yourself, you allow others to have the permission to do the same, whether it is to be ugly, to cry, to show up in their full human selves, as you've inspired me. So I'm very grateful.
Wow, Alex, those are beautiful words. I don't know how to react on that. May I also end with one
Of
thing?
course. Yeah.
You maybe don't know it anymore, but you inspired me in about one thing, and that is abundance. For me, abundance was always such an abstract word, and to be honest, I was a little bit allergic about the word abundance, because we were like, abundance. What is abundance? But then you once told me the story about an empty fridge and a full fridge, and it
Mm.
really, really inspired me. Actually, as more of an entrepreneur, you can make choices. Imagine yourself, somebody offers you food, and imagine yourself, you have a full fridge of amazing food. You will really think about that offer of food, right? And if you have an empty fridge and you're really hungry, then you take any hamburger. And I see how you embody that abundance, and that really inspires me. If I see you as a business owner, as a friend, you are one of the most abundant people I ever met, and you hugely inspire me with that, because I see the power of abundance. So for me, you made the concept of abundance very clear and very inspirational. And I want to thank you for being my dear friend.
Oh, thank you, Luke.